Hello, and welcome back to the Dungeons & Dragons Podcast UK. My name is Yasmin, and I will be the DM.
Hi, my name's Colin, and I play Cuin de Greymont, a paladin from Gavany.
Hi, I'm Spencer. I play Caddo Chasseur, a cleric also from Gavany.
Hi, I'm Brian, and I play Ogvar Surefoot, a ranger from Kessig.
Hi, my name is Samantha, and I play Elora Greyvale, a sorcerer from Nephalia.
Hi everyone, we have a small housekeeping note to cover. We apologise, but our editing department will be away next week, and this means that there will be no episode to stream. Instead, normal service will be resumed on the weekend of the 11th, with episode 77 hitting the airwaves. Now, let's get down to this week's proceedings. Episode 76, Prologue. Last time, in episode 75, the friends suddenly found themselves a man down. Oh, and a dog too. The team dropped some supplies to an apothecary and later located the residence of Arthur Axum, the current city lord, before returning to their accommodation at the Adventurers Guild. But where exactly did Caddo run off to in pursuit of Pickle? This week, it's time to find out. After leaving the church and the bishop behind, it was a slow stroll back to the guild. With his companions following in his footsteps, Caddo took a few moments to reflect on the mayhem and monstrosities that his morning had unveiled, and seemingly his rather disturbing day was not yet done, as another rapid and unforeseen event was about to unfold. Without warning, his canine companion, Pickle, pricked up his ears and dived off down the street at pace. This left Caddo no choice but to take to his holy heels and frantically follow in pursuit of his hound, whilst leaving the trailing team baffled at his bizarre and sudden departure. Episode 76. Going, gone?
As you're walking along, you've got the guild in sight ahead of you. And as you begin to approach the doors, Caddo, you notice you're very much attuned to Pickle. You've been with him since he was a puppy. You notice Pickle, there's a kind of a line of tension in his body which wasn't there previously. And his ears kind of perk up. And as you look at him, he kind of pauses in his stride for just a second before taking off down the street.
Heavens, Pickle, where are you going? Oh, right. I'm off! Right, and I'm chasing after my dog.
Right, so you go off in hot pursuit after your puppy, who's now run off. And he's moving at a fair clip, and obviously you're weighed down by your armour. If you can make me a constitution check, please.
Oh, that's going to be one of those evenings. That'll be a nat 20. Oh, if I do that all night, I'll be a happy man.
Okay.
That's a nat 20 plus 2.
Yeah, wow, that's
my first nat
amazing.
20 in ages.
So as you take off after your dog, you've been, he's quite far ahead of you, and he's darting. He's like sliding underneath carts and darting around in between legs, underneath horses. He's off. He's like a whippet. But you, even though you're in this kind of bulky, heavy armour, you're chasing after him. And although you're not gaining on him, and he's in fact probably gaining a little on you in terms of speed, you are going strong. There is no falter in your stride. I mean, you're used to wearing this heavy armour, you're used to kind of moving around, and you're actually quite physically fit. So, this isn't really posing a problem for you, the endurance of this. Anyway, you take off after Pickle, and Pickle's running for a good 10-15 minutes. You're chasing after Pickle until you lose sight of him as he turns rather sharply down a narrow alleyway.
Can I kind of tell in which general direction we've been running? Have we been running towards the docks or up towards the posh district, or just sort of random?
Yeah, so the direction you've taken, he has darted down some of the smaller side streets and cut through. You'd say you've probably kind of headed diagonally downwards. So you were in the kind of guild area, which is in this kind of middle band of the city, this very middling class middle band of the city, and you've headed diagonally downwards. So you haven't gone all the way down to the docks, but you're perhaps dropping into an area which is very it's less affluent. It's not fully slums, but it is clearly less affluent. You know, it's not such a nice area. There's kind of warehouses there with broken windows and cracked glass on the floor. You know, it's not a very nice place, but it's not fully the slums. So you're actually kind of more towards the outer city wall, the northern wall, where you came in, kind of that area, but down. So yeah, that's kind of where you are. It's very dingy, very kind of dirty. You can see splashes of mud up the wall where you've got these kind of narrow streets where carriages have rolled through and splashed mud up the wall. So yeah, that's the kind of general area you're in.
Right, so he's disappeared down this dark alley. Bless him. Well, Pickle is my life, so I'm following him down said dark alley. But I shall probably make sure that I have my morning start out ready to go, just in case. I'm not a fan of a dark alley.
Okay. So you make your way into the entrance of this alley, and there's about 10 foot where it's really narrow. It's about 5 foot wide. It's just wide enough to get down there, kind of thing. And as you come out into this area, it comes out into almost like this little, I'd say like a little alcovey type area. It's not massively big. It's probably about 15 foot deep and 10 foot across. And it's kind of this vague oval shape, very angular oval shape. You've got kind of the back of a warehouse on each side, and then perhaps another kind of couple of buildings on the other with a big tall fence in between, where there's obviously like a very small narrow alley and a gap, but it's been fenced off. And this area in here, it's very dark, very dingy. The buildings either side of you are towering up. They're good kind of 3-4 story tall buildings, clearly warehouse type buildings. And you can see ahead of you, at the other end of this area, Pickle is snuffling around at the back of one of these narrower buildings.
Oh, Pickle, why have you brought me here then, fella? This is very unlike you. I'm guessing you've picked up the scent of something. Right, well, I'll best find out what you're doing, fella. So, what's he got his nose in at the minute?
Okay, you can make me a spot check.
God, I haven't just rolled a natural 20. This isn't going to go well, is it? Right. We'll see. We'll see. No, it isn't. Right, so 3 plus 3 makes 6.
Okay, yeah, so you're trying to figure out what Pickle's snuffling at. You can see he's clearly kind of head down, nose into whatever this is. His tail is wagging very slowly, from side to side, very slowly. But his entire body is very tense, and he's clearly just indicating at something in front of him. What are you doing?
Well, he's rarely wrong, my dog. So whatever he's indicating is probably something fairly important. So I'm going to investigate with a degree of no, I'm just going to investigate. Sod it. Pickle will protect me if it goes horribly wrong. He'll bark if something's there that's actually alive. So yes, I'm going to go in and investigate and see what Pickle's actually found.
Okay, so you go over to Pickle, I'm assuming, to see what he's pawing at. Okay, so as you walk into this oval area, you can see the ground is very kind of you can tell there's probably cobblestones underneath, very uneven cobblestones, but it's all kind of silted over with a layer of like this kind of sticky, disgusting smelling mud. This mud which is kind of filling the streets in this area, it's just this kind of like disgusting sludgy stuff which just makes everything kind of slippery and slick. But it's very, very dark, very dingy. I mean, there's enough light to see, but it's very clearly like a dark and dingy little alleyway. As you get into, you're probably about 5 foot into this area. $21 to hit.
Oh, what, to hit me? Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah,
most
21
definitely,
to hit.
yeah.
Okay, so with 21
It would be a happy world if 21 didn't hit me.
21 to hit.
I'm going to need a rubber, aren't I? Yeah.
Oh yes. 23 points of damage.
Oof, phew.
As from behind you, you hear the whisper of a sound before burying itself into the back of your armour, kind of on the back of your shoulder joint. A blade comes down with this kind of almost chilling accuracy and sinks into your shoulder blade, drawing blood. Roll initiative.
Bugger. Oh, that's alright. 17.
Okay. So, Caddo, what are you doing?
Did I hear anything approach, or have I literally just been stabbed in the back?
You heard a kind of a whisper of a sound. Perhaps like a slight clothing rustle, but other than that, you didn't really hear anything at all.
In which case, I'm in pain and quite angry, so I'm just gonna swing and sort of turn around and swing as hard as I can with my Morning Star, whatever might happen to be behind me. I might be swinging at fresh air, but I want to be turned around anyway. Oh, that's all right. We like that. Morning Star. Oh, that'd be 25 all in.
Yeah, a 25 is most definitely going to hit. Roll your damage.
7 plus 3, 10.
10 points of damage. Nice. Okay. So as you turn around and you kind of pivot and swing in one go, you're not really focusing on what's there, you're just swinging to hit. And you feel your Morning Star make contact with something quite big and bulky. And as you make contact and you swing through and your arm comes through and follows the swing, you hear a strangled yelp of pain in this very feminine tone, this kind of sound. As what you see in front of you, you see a woman. She's roughly about 5'10", and make me maybe a wisdom check, please.
We had 3 to that. 12 all in.
12. Okay, yeah. So you could see that what she's wearing, although it's very hard to discern because it's covered in mud, unidentifiable stains. It looks tatty, old, quite ragged. But what she's wearing is quite clearly the armour and the garb of a city guard. Quite possibly repurposed several times over, worn by several other people. You can see kind of there's like a sewn up slash in the abdomen area where someone's clearly sewn it up to try and fix it and reuse it, but clearly this has been sliced open, and you can imagine the person who's wearing this perhaps had their guts spilled, so clearly this has been repurposed and reused.
Right, okay.
And yeah, there's this woman. She's got quite grubby skin. Her entire face is almost like blackened with soot and mud and grub, but she's got these very dark, beady eyes which shine out from underneath her, kind of from out of all of this muck. And she snarls at you. And as she snarls at you, you can see her teeth are yellowed and cracked, and quite gross looking actually. Yeah, that's what's in front of you. She bares her teeth, and she's holding her left hand side, her ribs. You can see in her hand there's a falchion. She's got this big falchion in her hand, and she snarls at you. And she goes, "Fuck off, you bastard!" And she swings at you with this falchion. And she's going to take a full round
She's really
attack.
not very ladylike, is she?
No, not very. So that's a 17.
Oh no, that doesn't hit.
Sorry, a 19. Sorry, not 17.
Oh, that's exactly the number.
19 and a 11.
11 doesn't.
Okay, so the first one hits.
Yep.
So with this first strike, as she brings it down, she swings kind of wildly at you. And the first strike she deals 5 points of damage as she kind of probably nicks your upper arm area, kind of under like a gap where your armour is. But the second swipe she takes, it's quite off balance, it's quite wild, and it just kind of glances off your armour with a kind of tring sound. Caddo, how are you responding?
No, I'm quite angry actually. I mean, I don't like being attacked out of the blue without being asked polite questions. So I'm going to smash her again with a Morning Star.
Okay, smash away. Roll to hit.
16 plus 8, 24.
Yeah, that's gonna hit. Okay, so roll your damage.
6 plus 3, 9.
9. Okay, nice. So you dealt another blow. What kind of blow are you dealing here?
Well, like I say, I'm quite angry. So I'm going skull crushing. I think on the basis that the way you described her, she didn't have a helmet on, so it's the most obvious bit of her body to try and destroy. So I'm going two-handed, top to bottom, top of the skull, to see if I can literally put one of the spikes of my Morning Star straight through the top of her head.
Okay,
And,
yeah. So
full force, right on the top of her bonds.
okay, so you go to take this blow, and she manages to get her falchion up just in time to just slightly deflect your blow away from her head. But your blow comes crashing down on her shoulder, and you can see that with the force it hits her, it's clearly done. It's going to have bruised severely, if not broken something. But down the side of her face, where the spikes on your Morning Star stick out, you can see 3 kind of lines running down from her temple to her kind of chin, her jawbone, where you've just kind of gouged these tracks into her face. And as you look, you can also see something pink and fleshy appears to sliver off from behind her and roll kind of down her front and land on the floor. And make me a spot check for that one.
Oh, interesting. Tonight's going well. I've just rolled a 17, which plus 3. That's 20 all in.
Yeah, wow. With a 20 all in, yeah. As you kind of look, you're able to tell this kind of fleshy thing, you've actually sliced off half of her ear. And it's just kind of come off her head and then just kind of rolled down her front and splatted onto the floor. So yeah, you've taken out this kind of vertical, the back half of her ear.
Oh, outstanding.
Which is actually quite grim, and you can see blood kind of rolling and pooling down her head from this cut which has been made.
Shouldn't have got to see her again. She's got nothing to balance her glasses on.
Okay, so she yelps again in pain, and her one hand comes up to support this shoulder, and the other, and she kind of she's stuck between going for her ear and her shoulder. She doesn't really know what to grab at, but she takes a 5-foot step back away from you, and she peels her hand away. It's coated in blood, and she just looks at you, snarls and sneers and her face kind of twists and contorts. And then she lunges forward at you again with a 10 to hit, which isn't going to hit.
No, that misses.
So it's this very uncoordinated. You could probably tell that this her shoulder, which you've just crashed your Morningstar into, it's probably severely bruised, if not broken, and it's really restricting her movements and restricting how she's wielding her falchion. So that's her turn over, and she's just kind of lunged at you, and kind of she's like heavy breathing, and you can see she is in pain. So Caddo, what are you going to do? How are you going to respond?
Right, I'm going to try and, using my Morning Star, I'm going to try and stun her by hitting her on the side of the head. So rather than outright doing her in, I want to try and knock her out, because I feel like I need to question her if I can. But clearly she's going to carry on fighting because I've done her quite a lot of damage. So I'm going to try and stun her if I can.
Right, so how are you going to do that? Because the head of your Morning Star is covered in spikes.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. What's the best?
I mean, you can drop your Morning Star and full on kind of try and sucker punch her.
Yeah, that's unarmed combat, isn't it? I'm not sure what I'm like at unarmed combat. It's not. It wouldn't be grappling, would it?
No, unarmed combat is just your BAB plus strength. And I think the damage is 1d4, I think.
Yeah, see, that's not like... I've no idea how strong she is. No, I'm just going to try and batter her in the stomach with a Morning Star and see if I can bend her over. Let's see if I kill her, I kill her, but if I'm lucky, I'll just completely incapacitate her. So we're gonna give her another good whack, sort of around the upper arm, chest region.
Okay, so you're going to go for that. Okay, so make me roll to hit then.
14 plus 8, 22.
Hits, yeah. So roll your damage.
I like being level 7. You get you get a lot more bonuses. Oh, that's not quite so good. That's a 2. 2 plus a 3 is 5.
5 points of damage. Okay. So you take this hit, and perhaps you're holding back a little bit because you're thinking, I want to knock her out. So you don't go at it with your full strength. But nevertheless, you still hit her, and she still kind of stumbles back with the blow. Again, you haven't hit as hard, but you have made contact with her torso, and she's just kind of wheezing with pain, slightly out of breath because you've kind of punched the breath out of her.
So as I smack her this time, I'm just going to say, look, don't make me kill you.
She looks at you, kind of, you can see she bares her teeth, and you can actually see a bit of blood kind of oozing between her teeth. And she just kind of, and she lunges forwards and lunges past you. You can make me an attack of opportunity if she runs past.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Right, we'll backhand her in the back, because that might knock her down. If I knock her down, I can jump on top of her and try and tie her up. Right, here we go then. Ooh, 8 plus 8, 16.
16 is not going to hit, unfortunately.
So she's gone further into this sort of closed down alleyway, is she?
Yeah, so she lunges past you, and you're about 5 foot in, and she covers the next 10 foot, and you hear a yelp as she grabs Pickle by the scruff.
Oh, now he would fight back if somebody did that to him, because he's wearing a silver studded collar, but his immediate reaction would be to fight back if somebody tried that.
Okay, has he got a grapple check?
What's he got? That's a good question, actually. I've got ability scores for him, and saves, and I've got his actual attacks are bite and claw. But I'm guessing if he's got ability scores, then we can work out a grapple for him, can't we?
So make a grapple, so that's BAB plus strength. Plus a size modifier, because he's a medium creature, so no size modifier.
Right, so his strength is 15, so that would be plus 2, wouldn't it?
Yeah, +2.
And he's +3 for melee, so that's +5 in all. +5
Yeah.
in all.
Let's make me an opposed grapple.
13 +5, 18.
Okay, so 6 plus. Yeah, no, with the 20, she grabs a firm hold on Pickle and she properly scruffs him. You see she's got a large amount of flesh in her hand and she drags him back as she pulls out a dagger. And she kind of waves this dagger threateningly at you. Pickle is yelping. And he's doing his best to squirm and fight back. But she's got such a good grip on him. And she holds this dagger, and it's this very kind of, looks like a very very roughly made dagger, very old broken wood handle with a rusty kind of dark blade. She's like, back off! The puppy gets it.
Right, I'm going to make this very clear for you. So listen, there are 2 ways this ends. You put my dog down and walk away, or you die.
Is that the entire of your turn?
Yep, I'm quite happy with that.
She looks at you and make me a... That's actually a bit of diplomacy, I reckon. Make me a diplomacy check.
That's good, because that's one of my good ones. I'm +7 on diplomacy, which gives me a 21.
21. Yeah, okay, you look at her, and as you say this, obviously it's very serious. Pickle's in danger. She looks at you, and her hand kind of, it clenches and unclenches around the dagger. She kind of spins it in her hand ever so slightly. You see her nostrils flare, and Pickle's still wiggling around in her grasp. And she very slowly begins to take sideways steps around from this end of this closed off end of the alley, and she probably moves about, trying to move sideways and kind of crouch, dragging a dog. She moves about 10 foot up the alley, up the wall. She's clung to the side of the wall here. Dog still in hand, dagger still in the other. What are you doing, Caddo? She is now closer to you. She's probably about 5 foot away.
So is she trying to move towards the exit of the alleyway, I assume?
If you want to assume that, yeah.
So I'm just wondering if there's... I'm just seeing which spells I've selected this day. I'm not sure that any of these are going to be particularly helpful in this scenario, but I'm just seeing which ones I've got selected so that... just reminding myself of what I might be able to do. But I suspect the ones I've got selected at the moment aren't overly helpful in this scenario. I certainly don't want to set her on fire. I'm trying to work out the lie of the land. So is she closer to the exit of the alleyway than me now?
She's probably about, so where you've got this oval shape, Pickle was at the top, the kind of the closed end of this oval, and you've got like this very this neck, almost like it's almost kind of bottle shaped in a way.
Yeah.
You're stood in the middle, 5 foot in from the neck of the alleyway. Pickle was 10 foot ahead of you by the grate.
Yeah.
And she's rushed past you, grabbed Pickle, and now she's moved. She's almost parallel with you up the left-hand side of the alley wall.
Okay. So
she's probably, she's 5 foot away from the neck of the alleyway, basically, roughly.
So if I moved myself to my left, I would block her exit.
Yes.
Okay, so I shall take a 5 foot step to my left to block her exit, and say,
okay.
Can I make the assumption you're a member of the city guard?
She looks at you, and you can tell. Make me a wisdom check, please.
Oh, good. That's another one of my good ones. Oh, but that's not quite so good a score. 13 in all.
Okay. Looking at her eyes, you can tell that there is a flicker of fear in her eyes. She is scared, but you're not sure what she's scared of. Her actions towards you are overly aggressive, without provocation. but you can't tell what it is, but you can tell that there is a flicker of fear in her eyes. Again, she kind of bares her teeth at you. She's like, not telling you anything. Get out of my way, and I might let the puppy live without being skinned.
Works the other way round. You put the dog down, I move out the way.
She looks at you. And then... that's probably going to do it. She grabs with the hand which she's held Pickle in. You hear him yelp as her grip tightens. And then she launches him at you. And he's a heavy dog. He's not the lightest dog. So
He's not. He's 5.5 stone.
Oh, is he quite light, is he?
5.5 stone. Yeah. That's a lot of dog. So that's the equivalent of picking up half a human being. So 14 pounds to a stone. So 5, 14, 70. He's 77 pounds.
How much is that in kilos? I'm not great at measurements.
So it is 2 pounds to a kilo. So he's not far short of 40 kilos.
Okay, right. Yep. Okay, I'm going to revise that then. She grabs him as she's grabbed him by the scruff. She does her best to throw him at you. And she kind of manages to scoot him forwards a little bit. But he kind of lands pretty quickly. And then she is dashing straight around you for the exit. You can make me a attack of opportunity as she passes you, Caddo.
Yeah, because I'm not happy with her.
Yeah.
Oh yes, an 18. 18 plus 8 is 26. That's got to be hitting.
Yeah, that is most definitely hitting. Roll your damage.
Come on. Big one. Let's get a big one. Yes. 7 plus 3 is 10.
10 points of damage. Okay. So you hit her, and you probably smack her square in the middle of the back as she's going past you. You hear her yell in pain, ah! As you feel these spikes on your morning star sink in and then pull back out. And she stumbles forwards a couple of paces, and she kind of grabs hold of the one wall on this alleyway as it narrows into this bottleneck, and you see a bloody handprint kind of smear down the wall. But she's gone. She's out of the entrance and she is gone.
Oh, bugger. I wanted to question her. Right, well, my first and natural instinct is to check my dog's alright.
Yeah, okay, so you check over Pickle, and Pickle is actually unharmed. He's fine. There isn't a single cut on him. He's perhaps a bit agitated, and he's whining, and he's all over you. He's literally crawling up you, trying to lick you to death. But he, other than being slightly distressed, he is fine.
Oh, brilliant. Right, and then I'm going to cast Cure Serious Wounds on myself. Because she actually did me quite a lot of damage, evil little toe rag. Cure... hang on. Before... sorry, can I just... dwell a pause? Before I cast... Cure... I keep doing this. I keep forgetting. Before I cast Cure Serious Wounds on myself, I'm going to take a moment to pray in such a way as if I would be turning undead, so that I can use my feat of Sacred Boost, which then means the spell will be absolute maximum value. I will then cast Cure Serious Wounds on myself, which is 3d8 plus 1 per level. So that's 3d8 plus 7. So that's going to be 31 points of damage repaired.
Wow, okay.
Which is basically everything she did.
Yeah. So you take up the position, this praying position, and you pray as if you were going to turn undead. But instead of actually having any effect, this kind of golden light suffuses out from your feet and almost kind of rolls and coils into kind of a circle around you. And then when you cast your healing spell, this golden circle surrounding you is almost sucked up and funneled back into your body, and you get this very superior healing effect from it. Okay, so you've healed yourself. Pickle is calming down, and as Pickle is calming down, his attention switches back onto his surroundings, and you very quickly notice as he's snuffling around, he catches sight of this half of this woman's ear, and he makes a lunge for it.
Oh, I'm quite happy to let him eat that.
Yep.
Yeah.
He picks up the ear, and you hear the happy puppy sounds.
While he's chewing
munches.
through the gristle that is her ear, I'm going to go and investigate the grate that caused him so much interest in the first place.
Okay. So you walk over to this grate, and it's this very low set grate in the bottom of this wall, most likely a sewer grate of some, or like a water outlet grate of some kind. And it's kind of, make me an not investigation, sorry, make me a search check.
Search. Oh. 12.
Okay, 12, yeah. You can very easily see that when you touch this grate, it does actually move. There's movement in it, and you can actually see on the floor there are kind of scraped back. The mud is being scraped clear, and you can actually see where it swung and scraped the mud and then swung free.
Is there any light inside the space behind it?
No, you can't see any light.
Okay. In which case, how big are the holes in the grate?
The holes in the grate are probably kind of fist size. They're just enough to stick, like probably up to the middle of your forearm through.
Okay, so if I held onto a crossbow bolt and stuck it through the hole, I'd be able to do that.
Yes.
Or in fact, actually, I could do better than that thinking about it. Yeah, so I'm going to take one of my marbles out of my backpack, of which I have a bag of marbles. I'm going to cast light on the marble.
Okay.
And then I'm going to put my hand through the grate and then throw the marble sort of into the space behind the grate.
Yeah. You throw this marble in, and it's a very bumpy, uneven surface. The marble hits the floor, bounces slightly, bounces off in a different direction. But what you can see from this marble now illuminating the area is you can see a small kind of room almost behind this grate. And as you look, you can see another grate on the opposite side. But as you look in, you can see what appears to be a pile of fabric.
Is it a room? Is it the sort of thing that if I went through the grate I'd be able to stand up on the other side?
Yeah, it looks like a room, to be honest. I mean, you'd have to squat down and crawl on your hands and knees to get through the grate, but beyond that it looks like a normal sized room, if a little low.
Okay. In which case I'll just test the grate to see if I can pull it away from the wall.
Yeah, it swings quite freely.
Right, in which case, yeah, we're crawling into the room then.
Okay,
and we're taking
so
Pickle with us.
Yep, you crawl in, you hold the grate up, you give a Pickle comes, and he slides under the grate through with you. And you're left in this room, and it's a low room. It's to the point where you have to stoop slightly and perhaps bend your neck to the one side so you're not kind of, banging your head on the ceiling. But it's this very blocky stone room. It's very dank. It smells very, very wet, musty, muddy. It's got that kind of earthy smell from like damp mud, and there's a bit of an odour about it, as if something kind of foul has been in this area, either the mud or the water. It's something kind of foul, but you wouldn't say it's full on sewage. It's just very foul. And Pickle, again, he kind of gives this kind of indication and then darts forward into this room. And this room's only about 10 foot by 10 foot. It's a very tiny room. And clearly you could say that probably this was just an area for water to run through. It was just this void where water ran through. There was no real use for this, so they just left it be, and water used to run through it. Are you taking a look around, like a proper look around?
Yeah. So I think I'm going to draw my hunting knife. So in my non-dominant hand, I'll have my hunting knife, which is obviously quite a long sort of a 6-inch blade, and I'll use that to poke around in around the room. Probably first of all having a look at the pile of cloth, just to look at that first, and then if nothing obvious appears out of that, then a detailed search of. I assume the marble's enough to illuminate the whole room.
Yeah, the marble's enough to illuminate the room.
Okay.
If there are some obviously very strange shadows being cast, because obviously you're moving through the room as it's Pickle. But you poke through this bedding, and this bedding, it's very much like the bedding you occurred. That's not the right word. It's very much like the bedding you encountered.
That's the one.
In the warehouse under the after you finished your crazy mind.
Oh, in the unpleasant room. Yes.
Yes, the unpleasant room. It's very shredded, balled up, very nest-like in manner. And as you're poking around there, you come across some bits of bone fragments, bone shards, bits of bone which have been sucked clean of the marrow, and again you can see these big kind of gnaw marks in the actual kind of bone itself. But you don't find anything other than that in the bed area. Looking around the rest of the room, you can make me in fact, you don't have to make me a search check, it's pretty obvious. There are things like you can see other bits of bones piled up in corners, bits of discarded kind of rubbish. It's very unpleasant, very untidy area. But what you can see is stashed away in a very small, kind of almost like a lockbox type chest, but the lock has been broken off, clearly hacked off with some kind of small axe or a blade. But there is a lockbox in the one corner of the room.
Oh.
So what are you doing?
I'll go and have a good look at it. Always keen to look in a box. Did you say the lock looked like it was broken?
Yes, so where the lock is, you can see it's clearly been hacked off with some kind of blade, most likely a small hatchet or an axe, you'd say.
That would tend to suggest that any trap that was on the box would already be broken. So I'm not overly fearful of just opening it and having a look.
Okay, so you open it and you have a look. And make me a 100% roll, please.
Oh, I haven't done one of those in a while. That is 58.
Okay, 58. In the box, nestled in a surprisingly clean layer of plush velvet, is a small 1.5-inch high statuette of a raven. And it's a silver statuette.
Ooh. Well, there you go. Right, yes. Well, I'll pick that up and put it in my pack.
Okay.
Is there anything else in this room? Are there any other doors or anything, or is it literally just the two grates?
No, there's just the two grates.
I'll try the other grate then, just to see if it moves.
Okay, yeah, no, this grate does not move. It is rock solid.
Okay, so my options are back out the way I came. Whilst I'm in this, what I consider to be a secure space, because it's just me and my dog down in this hole, finding this little statuette reminds me of the ring I found when I was last in a room like this, that I put in my pocket and had forgotten about. But it's just being in this scenario has reminded me of.
I think you actually had it on your hand, didn't you? You put it on your hand. The one from the unpleasant room.
Yeah, the pure black one with 2 silver bounds and a moonstone. Did I actually put it on? I thought I put it in my pocket.
You put it on.
Oh, I put it on.
You put it on.
Oh, in which case, I'm not going to be reminded of it because it's sat on my finger. I don't need to be reminded of it. Am I still getting a sensation of cold from it?
Yeah. So actually, your attention is drawn back to this because obviously you're thinking that all this room is very similar. Obviously, a very similar kind of situation. Your mind is drawn back to it, and you actually, your finger is still really kind of numb. And actually, when you touch something, even the wall or perhaps your own leg, you get the kind of pins and needles staticky feeling from this one finger.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go and find out what that is. I'll leave it on for now. It's quite a pleasant sensation. Right, so I'm going to go back out of the grate that I came in, and I'm going to put the marble in my pocket.
Yep.
I
okay.
assume my trousers are thick enough that that marble, although it's still emanating light, won't do it through the fabric of my pocket.
Yeah, perhaps in this dank alleyway you might be able to see a slight glow, but in the daylight you wouldn't be able to see anything.
Okay.
No.
So I'll go out of the grate and help Pickle up out as well.
Okay.
Are we making the assumption that the woman came out of there possibly, but then I would have seen her come up and out of it? Just looking round, sort of like the bottleneck alley thing, can I see an obvious place where she might have been hiding, to be able to surprise me from behind?
Yeah, so as you've walked into the alleyway, you've walked 10 foot down this narrow alley and you've emerged into this area, you then walked about 5 foot forward into the middle. What you didn't notice when you looked around is on the left-hand side, so as you're going in, the left-hand side of the alleyway, where it kind of bottles out, there is a crate, like a couple of big stacked up crates, and you could say she was probably sat behind there on one of these crates, and you've just walked in and she's just taken the opportunity to have a go at you from behind.
What a git. Right, I'll have a look at the 2 crates. Is there anything of interest about the crates?
So you look at the crates and they're just kind of old dilapidated crates.
Super. That's absolutely no use to me. Right, so I'll walk back out to the end of the alley.
Yep. Do you want to see if Pickle can track her?
Good question. Well asked. How busy is the path we've come out to?
This area, not particularly busy.
Right, and I assume she's still bleeding.
Well, she left a bloody handprint on the wall.
She left a
and
bloody
she's
handprint.
missing half of her ear.
Yeah, and I've lost it. So I reckon actually Pickle will probably be follow that, because that's a fairly good track. So my chances of him keeping hold of that. So yeah, so I shall take him back to the bloody handprint.
Yep.
And get him to take some scent from it. So I'll give him scent instruction.
Okay.
Yeah, and then let's go tracking.
Okay.
So we haven't done tracking for a while. Hang on, I'm just gonna remind myself of what his track is. The animal tracks and scent presented to it. This requires the animal to have the scent ability, which he does. DC 20 minus his special. Yeah. So DC 20, but it's +4, +5, plus. All right. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. All right then. I think I understand that.
Okay.
So it says here that his tracking ability is DC 20. Obviously, we then take off from that, I assume, his bonuses, and that's the score I need to achieve for him to keep tracking. Is that how it works?
Yes. Obviously, the DC will change depending on the situation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
Please make me track check.
So for tracking, he gets +1, +4. +1, +4, +5. +5, +3, so +8 in total. Right, okay. Well, that's a good start. That's a 16 + 8, that's 24.
24, okay. Yeah, so Pickle trots off at a fairly quick pace, head down, and he's thoroughly tracking this. And he leads you around quite a lot of these back streets. You dip into the slum area, you dip back out of the slum area, you loop back around into the slums again, you come back out on a different side of the slums, and he leads you on a fair jog around the city. Make me another track check as he approaches the busier main street.
Am I seeing spots of blood on the road and path as well?
Make me a spot check.
I don't like that. 7 plus 3, 10.
Okay, 10. Yeah, you might have been able to spot early on into the chase, you might have been able to spot some smears of blood, perhaps where she's grabbed a wall as she's turned around the wall, or some splatters of blood amongst the mud on the floor where it's come from her ear. But you'd say probably pretty quickly she's actually managed to get something to kind of staunch the flow.
Right, okay.
You don't see it, but Pickle is very clearly on it.
Right, second track check from Pickle. 13 plus 8, that's 21.
Okay. So as you approach the busier main streets where there's more footfall, you've got a lot more horses, more guards passing, Pickle emerges into the street and he follows along the street a little way before he kind of stands there and just looks very lost.
Oh.
And he's clearly lost the scent.
Bless him. Thought that might happen. Never mind. So I'm in a main street now.
Yep.
Are there any obvious members of the city guard knocking about?
Make me a spot check.
Oh, well, we like that. That's a lot better. 18 plus 3 is 21.
21. Yeah, there's quite a few members of the city guard around here. All the very disreputable looking ones. And actually, as you look around, you notice that a lot of these city guards, the uniforms they're wearing are in very much similar state to the woman who attacked you.
Okay. So I'm going to duck back down to the alley I've just come out of, and I assume there's mud and detritus on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna smear some of it into my clothing and my armour, and I might rub a bit into my hair, and a little bit on, perhaps a little bit on my face. I'm just going to make myself look fairly dishevelled, not vagabondish, but like somebody who's a bit down on his luck.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm then going to come out of the alley. I'm going to give Pickle a fairly firm command to heal, to keep him close, so that he doesn't go hairing off again. And I'm going to approach the nearest group of city guards.
Okay. Make me a disguise check. I want to see how well you're disguising yourself as someone who's down on their luck.
Oh, we've not done that one before. Okay, I get some help with a disguise check. 15 plus 3, 18 all in. That's not too bad.
18 all in. Okay, yeah, you do a pretty good job of making yourself look real roughed up. So yeah, you approach your guard, are you?
Yeah, or
Nearest
guards,
guard.
as the case may be.
Yeah, there's a group of 3 of them stood nearby, and there's one who looks perhaps a bit more put together than the other 2, and the other 2 are very. One sat there leaning on his kind of. He's got like a spear, like a pole arm. He's leaning on it with one arm round it and scratching his backside with the other. They're not looking very very professional, but the one of them is clearly very very professional, clean uniform. Stood to attention.
So I'll go to him, I suppose, and say, "Afternoon, gents. I'm new to town. I heard you boys are recruiting."
The guard in front of you looks you up and down. Well, there are always vacancies available for good men. However, most have been here for quite a while and have permanent residence.
Well, yeah, I'm willing to take up residence if I can find some work. I'm from up further north, but I'll be honest, I wasn't overly impressed with the heavy influence of the church up there, so I thought I'd come further south, where I heard perhaps the church didn't have quite so much sway over the say of how things go.
Politics have no influence in the city guard, sir.
Oh no, I get that. I'm not meaning to be political. I'm just letting you know why I've decided to move further south. and
Make me a bluff check. You're so bluffing. Make me a bluff check.
if I can find a job, I'll obviously find somewhere to live. Oh dear. That's a 19 plus 3, 22.
He believes you. He believes wholeheartedly that you're willing to move into the area to do the noble job of being a guard. So he starts off on a bit of a spiel. He looks you up and down. He goes, "Oh well, you're a tad roughed up, but I'm sure nothing a good wash wouldn't fix up. Get you a uniform. Yes, well, we've got quite a few benefits and health packages." And he starts listing off the benefits of being a city guard. Is there anything particularly you wanted to gain from this interaction, or?
I'm just interested on. I'm trying to work out what the recruitment process is. So is it a case of you go to some city guard centre, you get half a day's training, and then you're on watch, or is there like a full-on recruitment training-y program, or are they literally taking pretty much anybody who wanders up and they're immediately put to work? Who's in charge of training? Who's in charge of the guard? That sort of thing. So I'd ask those sort of questions, like who's in charge?
Okay.
How's it organised? What am I likely to end up doing? Am I literally just walking the streets, or do I have to keep watch on the big boss's house, or do I have to walk the walls? Or I'm just the operating procedures and activities of the guard.
Okay, make me a gather information check then.
God, today's challenge is to use everything on the list. 11 plus 3, 14.
14. Okay, with a 14, you're able to gather a bit of information. You're not able to get all of your questions answered, because you're just trying to slip them in amongst this guard. He's obviously very passionate and enthusiastic about recruitment for the guard. You're trying to slip these questions in amongst his sales pitch, basically. But with a score of 14, you're able to gather enough information that currently the city guards, although they're recruiting, they're just kind of, if you ask to be recruited, they will recruit you. However, a lot of new recruits are appearing, but they don't seem to have been recruited by anyone of this particular guard's level. They seem to have just appeared overnight and just been told, here are some new recruits. So they've just appeared. And you're able to get a bit of information about the process, and you're kind of able to gather that from what he's saying, but also the subtext going on, that they're doing training, and they are doing training, but with the high amounts of new guards they've got coming in, currently there's a bit of a backlog on the training, and there's not as much of it as there should be. So they're actually sending newbies out on patrol with some of the more experienced veterans because they don't have time to actually train them up. And he actually tells you that the two he's got with him today are learning how to do the job. And as you look at them when he tells you, he's teaching them, they are just sat there like picking the nose, scratching the backside, giving it a bit of a sniff. Whoa, look at that, it smells a bit. They're clearly not the brightest, and not really. I don't think the training's going to give them much help at all. And that's kind of all you're able to gather. He's very enthusiastic.
If I explain to him that I'm quite an experienced campaigner and that I've seen quite a lot of action, and I'd assume he'd be able to work that out from my clearly blood-streaked morning stock because I forgot to clean it. And clearly my fairly high quality armour that I'm wearing, although it is muddy and dirty and stuff. I'll try and garner from him whether or not the city lord surrounds himself with the more able of the city watch, and perhaps that's a job I might be suited to.
Yeah, so kind of you ask about career progression and starting levels. And he tells you that, yes, he can tell you've got some experience. However, you would still need to go through the basic training for this particular city guard, for this particular city. But you could probably, once you completed your training and your level was assessed, you would probably be given a higher position. And in regards to in terms of career progression, there isn't. He tries to play it up and make it sound as good as possible, but there really isn't much in the terms of career progression. He briefly mentions something about the higher ups remain higher up, but other than that, he kind of skirts away from the topic because it's clearly not a good sales point.
I will ask him directly who the captain of the guard is.
Okay, so you ask him who the captain of the guard is, and he gives you the name of Jerome Van der Tack.
How do you come up with these? Van der
Tack.
Jerome Van der Tack. Brilliant.
And that's the name he gives you, and he gives you a bit of an exaltive introduction and a bit of good Captain Jerome Van der Tack, and starts listing off names and stuff like, yes, at the Battle of the Dry Fish Dock, and it's a bit over the top. He's very passionate.
Good for him.
Clearly wants a promotion. Okay.
And just out of interest, I'll also so are the City Watch responsible for guarding the posh people up at the top of the hill, or do we leave them to their private security?
He gives a fairly vague answer here. He gives you the answer of sometimes we're called in to do the duty, but it very much depends on what's happening.
Okay. I'll make some reasonably discreet inquiries about the City Lord on the basis of, I'm new to the city. I assume the City Lord is the person who ultimately looks after the City Guard. Who is the City Lord, and what's he like as a boss?
He tells you that the City Lord is Arthur Axum, and he gives you a bit of a background, and gives you he took power after his father died, and so on and so forth. He doesn't give you anything of any real use, though.
So he doesn't say if the bloke's actually takes any interest in the City Guard, or if we have to, if we work for him or guard his house or anything like that.
No, he doesn't.
Right, so I'll just say so if I do decide to sign up, where do I go, fella? Where do I have to go for signing up?
So he gives you directions to the nearest guard post, which is the one nearest the north gate. As you go in, it's probably the most recognisable one, and he says you can sign up there, lad, if you fancy it and fancy joining the glorious City Watch.
Well, thank you very much for your help, fella. Sorry, I didn't catch your name.
I'm Alfred.
Alfred. Brilliant. So, like I say, I'm new to town, so I might go and see if I might shop around a bit in the tavern, see if anybody needs any other guard in duty. But it sounds like the City Watch might be. I mean, you've made it sound fantastic, Alfred. So, can you recommend any good place for lodgings?
Well, if you're looking for a good place for lodgings, the best place would be the guild. If you've got a membership, it's very, very easy to get one, and they do good prices and good ale and good food. Yes, yeah.
Yeah. No, I am a member of the guild.
Guild.
Could you point me in the direction of how I'd get to the guild from here? Because I'm not used to this bit of town. I was sort of just a wandering, taking in the sights.
Oh, sure thing, lad. Here we go. And he tells you to follow back down the main street, keep on going, and you'll eventually come across it on the right.
Excellent. And I don't suppose there's any chance. Would I pass a shop that might be able to do some appraisals for me on the way? I've got a few things that I need checking out.
On the way, quite possibly. I'm not entirely sure though.
Okay, in which case I will thank him, and I shall start making my way back towards the guild, keeping an eye out for a shop that could do me an appraisal.
Okay, yeah. So you follow the road back, and there are several shops. There are a couple which could probably do appraisals, but you have been gone for probably about half an hour now. Are you going to stop in to get an appraisal done? Or?
Yeah, I'll poke my head very quickly into an appraisal shop because I don't get much time to myself, so I'm going to take the opportunity to get a quick sneaky appraisal on this ring before I tell the group what it is.
Okay, so you pop your head in and there's a woman there. She's offering appraisals. She's saying 10 gold for an appraisal.
Oh yeah, I'm quite happy with that. So I shall hand over the ring. So it's 2 bands of silver with a moonstone in it, and ask her for her opinion.
Okay, so she looks at the ring and she begins muttering the spell, the identify spell. And she tells you that this ring is the Ring of the Shadow Storm. The ring has 2 silver bands and a moonstone in the middle. It is cold to the touch. The Ring of the Shadow Storm creates a small burst of lightning. It does 1d20 damage to whoever it is pointed to, but does 1d6 damage to the wearer every use. And it's a 10-foot range.
And would she know how many charges it has, or how often you can use it?
She tells you that you can use it twice an hour.
Oh, that's handy. Oh, we like that. Okay, super. Thank you very much. I shall thank her. Hand her the 10 gold pieces. Take that off my list.
Yep.
And I shall trot myself back to the guild in the hope of finding the others there.
Okay. So, you come back to the front entrance of the guild. You push open the door and you enter into the foyer.
After apprehending his hound, Caddo cornered Pickle in an alley as he was grubbing around at a grate in the wall. But it didn't take long for trouble to sneak up, as he got jumped by a woman in a grubby guard uniform who promptly stabbed him in the back, delivering some significant damage. A backstreet brawl ensued, and as his attacker looked for an escape route, his hound became her hostage. Some nifty negotiating saw Pickle the Pooch defy death, and their assailant made good her escape. Close examination of a hidey hole revealed a similar situation to their earlier dockside discoveries, as well as a small silver statuette which our padre promptly pocketed. Caddo cleaned up his act and hit the Selhoff streets in search of an appraisal for an earlier acquisition and some information inquiries about city security. Just a quick reminder, folks, there'll be no episode next week, but we will be back on March the 11th with episode 77.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Having you as a listener means everything to us. So, whichever streaming service you choose to listen to us with, please give us a like, subscribe and follow. We would love for you to join us on our Facebook or Twitter page, where you can catch up with all of our latest news. While you're waiting for the next episode of Secrets of the Silver City, why not pop over to our website, where you can read all of the information about this campaign, from backstories to setting. All of the links are in the bio of this episode. Join us again next week for the next instalment. Thank you for listening.